Why did Genghis Khan's warriors attach brooms to their horses' tails? And were the Bulgarians the only ones who successfully repel his mighty empire? Today, I will present you 50 facts about the largest continuous state in the entire history of mankind, the Mongol Empire. Stay until the end to see your rapid rise to power, peak years, and dangerous fall. Before that, however, quickly write in the comments which past empire you want me to make 50 facts about. You decide entirely. The Mongol Empire was a great power of the past that changed the direction of development and life throughout Asia and parts of Europe. It is the largest continuous state that has ever existed, and the second largest empire after the British. The scale of this medieval state was simply mind-boggling. At one point, it reached about 30 million square kilometers, or 20% of all the land on Earth. Just for comparison, this is roughly 3 times the size of the United States, or almost twice the size of the largest country today, Russia. The territory of the Mongol Empire once stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to the banks of the Danube River. But you know what is the most interesting? All this was achieved in just over 50 years. The building and rapid development of an empire begins with one man. This is the infamous Genghis Khan. Did you know that historians often associate the creation of this empire with a kidnapping? Chronicles say that Genghis Khan's wife, named Byorte, was kidnapped by an enemy tribe. The Khan, however, quickly formed a coalition and directly destroyed the enemy. Thus, he shined for the first time as a leader. Between 1201 and 1205, still known by his birth name, Temujin, Genghis Khan united many Mongol and Turkic tribes, but also became involved in conflict with his uncles, who also had claims to the throne. By 1206, however, Genghis Khan destroyed all his enemies and was crowned as supreme ruler. He accepted the title Genghis Khan. Yes, it is a title, not a name, as is often confused. It actually means universal ruler or great ruler. Genghis Khan is a huge and completely separate topic. If you want 50 facts about him, drop me a comment. But right now, let's focus more on the empire itself. In reality, the life of the Mongol Empire was quite short, only 162 years, and its greatest territorial expansion took place under the successors of Genghis Khan. The capital of the Mongol Empire was the city of Karakorum, whose remains can still be seen today in the successor state of Mongolia. After the time of Genghis Khan, however, the capital was moved to Khanbalik, which is today's Beijing. One of the reasons for the rapid development of the Mongol Empire, besides, of course, the military tactics, was the warming of the climate. All family and agricultural duties were left in the hands of women, while men were used for war. When a boy turned 13, he was automatically accepted in the imperial army. That was the age threshold for fighting. Many men spent their entire lives fighting. There was, however, a break in military service, if you survive, of course. It was between the ages of 15 and 17 when you had to go back to your tribe or village, find a wife, and create a generation. If you don't do that, the punishment was free labor for the benefit of the empire. If it seems to you that 13 is too early for a soldier, then how would you react if I told you that at the age of 3 children learned to ride a horse? They tied them to the saddles so they wouldn't fall, and at the age of 5 they got their first bow to shoot while already galloping. War was in the blood of the Mongols. But did you know that they don't have a specific word for soldier in their vocabulary? In fact, their entire society is built for the purposes of war. During any military campaign, the families of the soldiers moved together with the army. Women, children, grandmothers, and all the belongings were carried 2 or 3 kilometers behind the army. Thus, almost every soldier could enjoy his loved ones in the evening after a fight, which boosted morale a lot. Even during war, they felt at home. This nomadic culture is still practiced in the territory of present-day Mongolia, as well as in the former Soviet republics surrounding it. There you can see whole communities that move every 2 or 3 months with all their belongings. The military raids of the Mongol Empire are well known. Under the leadership of Genghis Khan, many of the nations at war with him simply surrendered because they knew that the Khan was brutal. He relied on intimidation and his fearsome reputation to avoid about 90% of the battles. Those who did resist him faced an awful lot of clever trickery, such as a simulated withdrawal of his army so that the enemy would be trapped, surrounded, and slaughtered. Very often, the Mongols created the illusion of numbers, for example. They put scarecrows on the horses and galloped together with men. Another trick they often used was tying broomsticks to the horses' tails, which would lift up sandstorms behind them. So their enemies thought they were much more soldiers than they really were. The other reason for this rapid expansion was the adaptability of the army and innovation. Genghis Khan is known to have incorporated the best practices and technologies of the cultures he conquered. For example, he actively benefited from Chinese siege technology, Persian engineering, and even European armor. This willingness to learn and adapt to others set him apart greatly from his contemporaries, who, as we know, loved traditional, predictable methods of warfare. The Khan simply took the best of each conquered nation and used it well. Unfortunately, however, many of the people who surrendered also met his blades and were totally wiped out. It is estimated that the army under the command of Genghis Khan killed between 30 and 40 million people. In the capture of Baghdad in 1258 alone, historians believe that about 2 million people were killed within a few days. 2 million suddenly poof. For the Middle Ages, this was something spectacular. However, during one of their raids, the Mongols captured a man named Chu Tsai, who was some sort of high scholar. Instead of killing him as usual, Genghis Khan made him a chief advisor. It is believed that it was Chu Tsai who persuaded the great Khan not to kill everything in his path, but to tax them instead. So the Khan tamed down a bit, and the empire began to earn much more gold. He tamed himself nicely, but a little too late. The Mongols had already completely wiped out whole ethnic groups and even entire races in Asia. During the Mongol Empire, Earth's carbon footprint is thought to have fallen because the world's population was collapsing. This meant fewer people to burn wood, which emitted carbon dioxide. Also, many forests have recovered due to the small world population. The Khan took lives, but also gave life. According to some sources, he had about 500 second wives. The exact number of his children is not clear, but he had between 8 and 10 heirs from his main wife alone. Today, it is estimated that about 16 million people in Asia are direct descendants of the Khan. The population at the peak of the Mongol Empire was about 100 million people, which for the 13th century is something unthinkable. Today, however, the country of Mongolia has only 3.3 million people, despite its huge territory. We have reached the middle of the video, guys. Give us a thumbs up if everything until now is interesting, and let's continue with more shocking facts about the Mongol Empire. Did you know that Volga Bulgaria was one of the few countries that resisted the Mongols? The empire made as many as 3 attempts within just 10 years to capture them, but the Bulgarians constantly repelled them. Unfortunately, however, in the Fourth War, the Mongols jumped all in and sent 300,000 soldiers, while the Bulgarians at that time were only 50,000. Thus, the capital city naturally fell and opened the way of the empire to the west of Europe. The Mongol Empire expanded not only territorially, but also culturally. During its time, the Mongolian language was also born, which became established in the army and in the conquered lands. Unlike many other imperialists, Genghis Khan passed laws allowing all religions and places of worship to be exempted from taxes. He himself was quite spiritual and practiced shamanism, as far as is known, and shut himself off for days in prayer before important events or battles. The laws in the empire were not based on any religious dogma, but entirely on justice. Traitors, murderers, thieves, and adulterers deserved the most severe punishment of being thrown into a cauldron of boiling liquid. Now, if you're wondering how he had 500 wives and he punished adultery, well, I must tell you that there were many concubines in the empire, and in fact, an unlimited number of concubines. The Mongol Empire did not judge people by wealth or social status, but by abilities and talent. All men started as equals, regardless of their ancestry, and only skill can move them up the hierarchy. Their army was also divided into groups of 10, 100, and 1,000 men, each soldier being promoted or demoted based on his performance on the battlefield. It is wrong to think of Mongols only as ferocious killers. They considered scientists a very important imperial asset. The empire encouraged the creation of research centers that experimented with herbs and studied astrology to prolong the lives of the empire's subjects and, of course, the leaders. The Mongols were open to trade with everybody, and the best example of this is the product gunpowder. After the conquest of China, from where gunpowder originated, thanks to the Mongols, it started spreading throughout the empire. Within a few months, gunpowder reached all the way to Byzantium and Arabia, thanks to the Mongols. The empire also tried to introduce paper money, even threatening subjects if they did not use it. However, people rejected them because they simply did not trust any paper banknotes. This remains one of the examples of such forward-thinking Mongolians. Another example of such advanced thinking is equality between men and women. While in ancient Greece and the Roman Empire, the rights of women were more limited, in the Mongol Empire, ladies were allowed to own businesses, hold managerial positions, and generally contribute to the economy. The Mongolians also had some really old-fashioned beliefs, such as not bathing or washing their clothes, because they believed that with dirty water, they would anger the spirits that lived along the streams and rivers. Hey, subscribe to the channel if you constantly want to learn such interesting facts. The Mongol army very often had to gallop for days through the vast territories of the empire, and therefore they always carried dried meat, cottage cheese, and kumis in their saddlebags. Kumis is the fermented buffalo milk that looked a lot like alcoholic yogurt milk. During these large-scale movements, all soldiers had access to few spare horses. If one of the horses happened to die from exhaustion, part of the army stopped, cut it up, and ate it of the field. Marco Polo wrote that they even drank his blood. The Silk Road, as we know it, was created by the Chinese, but it was the Mongols who developed it. They issued a peace law called the Pact of Mongolia, which guaranteed the security of trade routes. It is said that at one time it was so peaceful in the empire that even a maiden could walk these roads with a gold nugget on her head and no one would attack her. The Mongols are considered the best archers in history. They could easily send arrows 230 meters away. They were extremely accurate with the bow, even while riding. Did you know that the Mongol Empire organized the most successful postal service of its time? They had about 1,500 postal outlets throughout the empire and had over 50,000 horses. Thus, for example, a letter could cross the vast territory in just 2 weeks. And don't forget that we are talking about 5,000 or 6,000 kilometers stretch here. The holy grail of archaeology is the location of the Great Khan's tomb. No one knows where his body was laid because everyone at the funeral was killed. After his death, the empire experienced a brief period of turmoil and uncertainty, as the heir he had named and his firstborn son named Jochi also died. Another of his sons was elected to be Great Khan and continued his covenant. It was he, by the way, who started the attack on Western Europe and Volga Bulgaria. The Khan's successors gradually began to divide the empire, and it became 4 main khanates. In the end, all of the rulers had problems between each other, and slowly everyone started to lose territories. On top of it all, the bubonic plague of the 14th century came, which is believed to have started precisely in Central Asia. The disease had a profound effect on the empire itself, totally destroying trade. People then knew that the disease was transmitted through human contact and thus stopped communicating with each other. Consequently, trade with entire nations was suspended. It is believed that the real end of the Mongol Empire came in 1368, when China outright defeated the last Kublai Khan. Nowadays, the successor of this great empire is the extremely interesting country of Mongolia. If you liked the video, chances are you may like this one too. Don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe to the channel.